So, welcome sa training ng graphs using Excel. The objective natin to create maps and graphs using Excel, be able to use the appropriate graph on a given data, and be able to utilize the graph in surveillance and policy making. So, may sinend ako sa inyo yung policy making which you can use sa monkeypox sa group nyo, sa report. Ang ano ni Doc Coco instruction is to read in advance na lang muna since mahaba-haba kasi yung sa policy making. So sino naka Windows na PC or lahat naka Mac?
Windows po ako, sir.
Okay, Windows. Okay. So before we begin sa map making, we make sure yung PowerPoint natin nakakapag-save ng JPEG image on a high resolution. We'll be using PowerPoint para mas madali. You can use Photoshop if you prefer, pero medyo taxing kasi ang Photoshop. I've used both. Medyo mahirap kung sa template na. So it would be easier to use PowerPoint para mas madali yung format, mas madali mag-save. So you can open your PowerPoint para dun sa mga naka-Windows. So ang default kasi ng resolution of saving JPEG images using PowerPoint is 1280 by 720. So, okay na. Press Windows R. Then type regedit. Okay na? Naka-follow yung mga naka-Windows? Okay na?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And then, ito yung umappear na screen sa inyo. Windows Registry Editor. So it looks like this. Yung may H key. Okay. And then, look for the H key current user. Software folder, Microsoft, then Office. Did you find them? So it depends on the Microsoft Office you're using. So you have to open 14 for Office 2010, 15 for 2013, and 16 for version 2016. Then after that, continue down to PowerPoint and then finally options. So options. You need to see this. Naka-follow?
Yes.
Okay. And then, in the pane at the right click, choose new. This one should appear. Yung right pane, ito yan. Then new, the word, 32-bit value. And then name this new entry, export bitmap resolution, and hit enter. Double click this new entry and set the base to decimal and set the value to 300. So from 96 dpi should be 300. So we can get a higher resolution on saving JPEG.
Sir, I'm kind of lost.
I lost. Wait. So, have you hit the word 32-bit
Not
value?
yet.
Not
I'm
yet.
still in the file part.
The file part. Here, in the options.
Yes.
Okay. Then you right click on this right pane
Option.
on this part.
Right click. Okay.
Then new. Then D word 32-bit value.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Then you name this new entry export bitmap resolution and hit enter. You double click this new entry. So it should appear here. The right side. And set the base to decimal and set the value to set the value data to 300 and then click OK to confirm. Sa Windows, wala tayong option to change yung resolution to higher. Then, kailangan nakaset siya. Okay na?
Yes, sir.
Okay. For Mac users, every time you export data from PowerPoint, file format menu, select the picture format that you want, such as JPEG. Then select either save every slide or save current slide only. You may also enter size for your slide images in the width and height boxes. So manually enter the resolution for Mac users. If you choose to save every slide, your presentation will be saved as individual image files, one for each slide. After you save your slide as pictures, you can share them as just as you would any other picture file. Ganun lang sa Mac. Medyo toxic sa ano. Pero yung sa Windows, one time lang naman yun. So every time you save your pictures, it's in high resolution. Okay? Okay na. Punta na tayo sa exciting na part. So types of basic graphs that we learned during elementary. What are those? What are the graphs that we learned during elementary?
Bar, pipe.
Yeah. So we have we have bar, we have line, and we have pi. So these are the basic graphs that we learned during elementary. But since we are in epidemiology and you're in college, graduating, so we do more complex graphs. So ito yung graphs used by the WHO. Ito yung heat map nila. As you can see in their left lower side, they're using two series monochrome na bar divided into segments. So what we use in ABVC is yung diretso, di ba? So they have that na yung squared dot. Then yung white is for no reported cases and gray is not applicable. Not applicable are the places where there are no population or people. Usually yun yung Sahara, Western Sahara, or yung part na desert. So as I've mentioned before, yung dun sa mga comments ko sa graphs niyo, I prefer using Robinson or Miller. So if you have noticed, yung iba, the usual map that we have is the mercantile. The one that has very large Greenland, very large Russia, yung upper portion, yung northern region. I prefer yung Robinson and Miller kasi mas proportionate siya, mas realistic yung proportion ng countries versus dun sa mercantile na oversized yung northern part. Because they were created by the Europeans, so basically they resize their part in a bigger proportion para magkaroon ng illusion and they're bigger. So to emphasize din naman yung ating region, Southeast Asia, I would prefer to use yung Robinson and Miller para we would see yung mas proportion na image. So later we'll see the differences. So World Health Organization also uses bar graph for the monkeypox. Ayan, yung latest nila is from December 2021 to June 2022. Divided into regions. This is called the stock bar graph. So there are multiple bar graphs combined together in the same period. These are graphs used by the WHO for COVID-19. So sa COVID-19, they have two heat maps, geographical heat maps. One for the cases in every 100,000 population, and the other is that's in every 100,000 population. So the same with the monkeypox. I think they're using Robinson here. So this one's Miller. Mas flat yung Greenland. So it's pag Miller is parang pa-curve yung image ng map. Hindi lang siya pinapakita dito. Then this one's Robinson. And then they still have the same yung chromatic na din, segmented yung divided in segments yung cases. Then for the cases, they have peach for no confirmed cases reported in the last 7 days and white for no reported confirmed case. So as you can notice, kita nyo ba yung sa North Korea? It's white. So, maliit ba masyado? So yung sa North Korea, they usually don't report cases. So yung latest, if you have read yung mga situational report natin with COVID-19 in the past weeks, North Korea only reports fever or COVID-19 like symptoms, but they don't report confirmed cases. Why? Why don't they report cases sa North Korea? What do you think? Anyone? So why North Korea don't report cases? Doesn't report cases of COVID-19, but they report death. What do you think? That's how we analyze maps and graphs in epidemiology. Why are there no cases in Korea? And yet they're reporting deaths. What would be the reasons? Any brave soul?
Must be political. Political.
Must be political. Anyone else?
Ayaw lang paalam na marami silang
Doc.
cases. And
Hi.
yeah.
Hi.
And
Hi, Doc.
ayaw lang paalam na may mga cases and it's a break in their health system.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, a little proud siguro ang North Korea. Watching too many Korean telenovelas. That's my point of view.
Yes. Yan. So, correct. Health is political.
Okay lang. Tanungin natin yung mga batang yan. Baka naman may ano sila. May idea sila.
Kayo, what do you think? On your point of view. Yes, Charles.
I think it's also economic in a sense. We know how North Korea has solely focused on parang defense and parang mga pag-improve ng mga missiles and all that. So I feel like if they report cases, they would have to be prompted to buy vaccines for their parang population and all that. So mas yung parang spending nila mag-iiba ng priority, which is something that the state does not want to prioritize since they have other interests.
Yeah, that's possible. So, anyone else? Nicole? Tawag tayo isa-isa.
Oh, sir, I was just thinking maybe not to cause an like overwhelming alarm to the people. Like if they will show enormous cases, like enormous amount of cases, maybe the people would, parang they would panic, and so they are just giving updates about the deaths, not really the active cases.
That's possible. Trisha, what do you think?
I'm not sure why would they only report deaths, but yeah, I'm not sure because nobody can exit or nobody can come in from the people, so it doesn't really make sense for them to report it. I'm just thinking that they don't have the technology to detect cases, or like they don't have those testing kits to report
Yeah.
in time, like underreporting and stuff. That's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
It's possible. Angela, what do you think?
I also agree that it might be because of political reasons and that they want to have to keep their reputation, maintain their reputation and their pride, something like that.
That's also possible. Erica?
For me po, I think just like what Angela and Doc Coco said, it's for political reasons, and just like what Trisha said, they might not have testing kits that will be used for the detection of COVID-19. Not sure.
Okay, thank you. So your answers are all correct, possible, correct. One of the reasons why North Korea are not reporting, because as we all know, North Korea was dubbed as a hermit country. Part of it is political. They are a communist where they want to be self-sustaining. They don't want to be depending on imports. Many of their imports are usually smuggled. So what they have in North Korea is basically what they produce. But since they are producing their own, they cannot sustain it on their own. So most probably they don't have the testing capacity to determine if someone is really infected with COVID. So they just report in fever and deaths. And that's it. They just call it they have disease epidemic, and there are no cases that they can report with COVID-19 because they have no testing capacity. And yes, it's true that they are more focused with their nuclear weapons, with war, because they want to protect their image so that they can sustain on their own. So that's other possibilities why North Korea is not reporting. So this is one. These are some of the examples why graphs are very important in looking for surveillance. So why are some countries are very high, like Vietnam? How did Vietnam get so high with cases? So what happened? So before nag-search, if you have seen yung epic curve, have you seen the epic curve? Yung sa situational report? Hanapin natin. Ayan. Tayo. So if you can notice, what happened with Vietnam, it has 10 million cases. So what happened to them? They used to have 200 cases during 2020. And we are surging. Tapos ngayon, sobrang taas na nila. What did Vietnam do? What happened to them? Did they have surge? Mas pasaway ba sila kaysa sa mga Pilipino? Or may mas problema tayo? Or mas disciplined ba yung Philippines versus Vietnam? Kaya tumaas yung cases nila? What are the possibilities? What do you think? Pag na-analyze natin yung mga data. Kasi this is what we usually do when we do graphs. Oh, ba't ang taas ni ganito? Ni ganitong bansa, ni Vietnam. Ano nangyari sa Philippines? As you can see, it's around March that Vietnam surged. And nalagpasan niya lahat. Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia. May problem ba kaya dun sa policy ng Vietnam?
Gian, nag-test sila.
Ay, Doc?
Nag-test sila ng cases. They have more testing
Sa
capability.
Vietnam. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, Doc. Correct. So, Vietnam tested more. So, yung cases nila, they included rapid antigen tests. They ramped up testing. So, mass testing kung mass testing talaga. So, definitely, the cases would go up. So, the more cases that they detect, mas marami silang ma-isolate na individuals. And the more that they isolate more individuals, the more they can protect the vulnerable population in their area. As you can see, yung mga reports natin with situational report natin, you must compare also the case fatality rate, not just with the cases. Not because the country has high cases, it means that they really have really high cases. Some countries, they have low cases, but because they have low capacity of testing, or they are not testing at all. So you can see with the case fatality rate, yun yung magsasabi ng totoo. Kung nagtatest ba ng marami yung lugar na yon, or hindi nila matest ng maigi. So we dig deep with the reasons kung bakit ganon. So ang case fatality rate ng ating COVID-19 ay nasaan na? Sa ASEAN region. Ano na ang case fatality rate natin? Ano na? Binabasa niyo ba yung situational report natin? You need to update yourself para pag tinanong kayo o ano ng status natin case fatality rate natin. Before the pandemic, around 2020, ang case fatality rate ng COVID-19 ay nasa 3%. During that time, ang Philippines nasa 6%. Ngayon, ano ang case fatality rate natin based on report? Yes, anyone? Nicole.
Was it 1.6%, sir?
1.6% for
For
Philippines.
yeah, Philippines.
For Philippines. Yung
But for
ASEAN,
yeah, 1.2.
ASEAN. 1.
No. 0.7, sir. I'm so sorry.
For ASEAN countries,
0.7.
it's 1.1. 1.1 lang.
Ooh,
For Vietnam,
Vietnam 0.4.
very good. So, you can notice yung difference, no? What can you say the comparison ng case fatality rate ng Vietnam versus sa Philippines?
Much higher po yung Philippines compared sa Vietnam.
Ikaw, Angela, what can you conclude or hypothesize with the data given na mas mataas yung case fatality rate ng Philippines versus sa Vietnam and sa ASEAN region? Na-review mo ba? Nakikita mo ba ngayon? So, case fatality rate ng Philippines ay 1.6. Vietnam is 0.4% and yung ASEAN is 1.1.
I think since there's higher cases in Vietnam but less deaths, it would mean like they have like more capacity to take care of their patients. as compared to the Philippines, since there's more death in the Philippines, but less cases.
Yeah. Do you think is Philippines is doing well in the ASEAN region?
In the same region?
No.
No.
No. What do you think so? Why? Why? Why do you think?
Because it seems to it's since most of the other countries have like 0 point something case fatality rates, and then I think so.
Yeah. So, if you do the rankings, pang ilan ng Philippines? ASEAN region in case fatality rate.
Fourth highest.
Fourth? Is it fourth?
The fourth high? Yeah.
Fourth highest.
Yeah.
Is it?
There's
Oh yeah, fourth highest out of the 10 member states. So, what can we conclude about it, Erica? Being the fourth highest, what can you recommend for the Philippines to improve? Or what could be the factors that you think of? Possibilities that the Philippines is ranking high in case fatality rate. Hello, Erica? Erica, nandiyan ka pa?
You can look at the table actually, yung table ng cases and deaths, and look at case fatality rate, you look at the vaccination coverage, yung fully vaccinated, and compare the kunwari yung number of actually this table is quite complete. It will tell you yung cumulative cases per 100,000 para ma-compare siya sa ibang countries. If lang ninyo kasi of course case fatality rate will tell us Myanmar probably is not not doing any testing and they're just reporting this just like Gian said. Medyo kompleto tong table na to eh. And you can do a lot of analysis with this kind of table.
Gian, if I may add to the Coco.
Yes,
yeah.
It's really important not to only see the table, see the values, but also important to understand those categories. Like for example, yung example kanina is the CFR, right? So what the CFR means, what are the formula used in the CFR? So what can you conclude using that data na nakita niyo sa table? So it's not only the values, but you also try to understand kung ano yung formula ng mga data na nasa table natin. So you can also see kung nagmamatch ba yung interpretation nyo with this data. It's really important to use this in data interpretation also. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Pebs. Charles, what do you think? What do you think yung sa case fatality rate? What would be the causes? What could be your recommendation based on the tables that we have, yung mga information you mentioned it, Doc, including yung vaccination rate?
Yes po. Looking at the table po, I think sa ASEAN, we are parang third lowest in terms of yung fully vaccinated. So siguro that's also a problem na parang we haven't ramped up enough yung vaccination sa population. That's why yung mga cases more often than not nagta-translate to deaths as given by the case fatality rate. So I think one recommendation we can give is yun nga, improve vaccination. And also I think it's been a recurring problem then yung testing, since not everyone is getting tested. Only those who can afford to do so, or those who have access to it, get tested. So yung total confirmed cases may not even be a reflection of what's happening on ground, na kung ilan talaga yung merong COVID or something. Yun po.
Yeah. So very complex yung mga issues kung bakit may mataas yung case fatality rate. So that's what we do. We collect data, turn them into reports na para maging useful doon sa mga gagawa ng policies and mag-i-implement. So kailangan maganda yung data para yung assessment natin. Doon, maganda yung assessment, maganda yung magiging implementation or magiging maganda yung tawag doon. Yung treatment, yung pag-ano dun sa issue. Kasi kapag hindi maganda yung assessment natin, baka mali yung gagawin natin ng solution. So, yung sa simula pa lang, dito pa lang sa ating mga data na pinoproduce, kung ito pa lang maganda na to at makikita agad kung ano yung mga issues natin and problems, it would be easier for the implementers and the policymakers what to do. Nabalik tayo. Ayan niya bumalik. Ayan. So nasa graphs pa rin tayo ng WHO. As you can see, yung graphs ng WHO, meron silang combined, meron silang line graph, and another combined. So dito muna tayo sa line graph. Ito yung line graph nila. So ito yung mga mass gatherings in global event database. Yun lang, tapos naka-timeline. And then we have yung combined graph. Ano to? Bar graph with line graph. And then yung isa, yung sa taas, stock bar graph with line graph. So both naman ito ay cases, number of cases and number of deaths. So makikita niyo yung sa ilalim, yung timeline, both naman. So it's from January to June. I think it's 2021 to June 2022. So yung sa left y-axis natin, yung cases. Then yung sa secondary axis natin, andito yung deaths. So pareho siya. Cases sa left and deaths sa right side. Same with what we do in our situational report. So yung upper lang, ang difference lang ng stack siya. So yung mga regions, pinagsama-sama na into same period. So ang division ng WHO is America, Southeast Asia, Europe, Eastern Mediterranean, Africa, Western Pacific. So saan region tayo ng WHO included? Importante ito. Kasi medyo magulo yung partition ng WHO. Trisha, do you think saan tayo, region ng WHO included? Ay, alam mo dapat yan. Clue, kasama ka namin sa region ng WHO. Anong region tayo na? Western Pacific. Ayan, sinabi ko na ako na. So, nasa Western Pacific tayo. So, you can see yung map. Ito yun Western Pacific. Kasi, itong area na to. Yan. So, sa Pacific area, kasama yung Japan, Korea, China, Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, Australia. So included sa Southeast Asia ay yung I think Cambodia, Cambodia ba? Myanmar, India, hindi kasama ang I think Thailand, Sri Lanka. So you can see yung map ng WHO, baka malito kayo. Baka hanapin nyo ang Philippines sa Southeast Asia. Wala tayo sa Southeast Asia ng WHO. Ang Southeast Asia office, regional office ng WHO nasa India. Then ang Western Pacific office ay nasa Philippines. Okay? So ito yung ibang klase ng heat map na available. Ito yung ginagamit ng CDC, US CDC, and Johns Hopkins University. Favorite nila to kasi yung circles, mas malaking circle, mas maraming cases. So the smaller the circle, mas maliit yung, mas konti yung cases. Mas madali nga naman siya makita. Para to doon, mas ano siya, colorblind friendly. So kung colorblind ka, mas madali makita. Compare dito, kung colorblind ka, baka pare-pareho na yung tingin mo sa kanila. So what we do in ABVC, yung map natin, may numbers. So may country numbers para hindi tayo malito. Saka para kung magkakakulay, alam natin kung ilan yung cases. Saka para ano din, colorblind friendly. Lalo na yung mga red and green or yung mga malalapit yung colors, they would be having problems looking at the heat map. Yun, tapos pwede natin ito i-combine dito sa heat map na to, yung colored, kung konti yung cases. So, i-check din natin kung yung masyado bang overpopulated na ng deaths or ng circles, baka mas okay na paghiwalay na lang sila, tulad ng ginagawa ng WHO. So, yung yellowish part na to, yung cases nila, sineparate nila with the deaths, itong greenish part na to. So kung konti lang yung deaths, pwede naman natin silang i-combine. Wala namang problema doon. So we have to consider kung ano yung data na available natin. May questions? Questions? So before we proceed? Wala. Ay, Doc. Doc, andyan pa po kayo?
Yeah, I'm here. Bakit?
Doc, pwede po tayo mag-picture?
Sandali ha.
Sige. Bago po mag-proceed.
Okay lang. Saglit lang.